A few months ago, my friend Sarah, an up-and-coming nature photographer, decided to spend a day and night alone in the woods outside our town. She wanted to capture the natural beauty of the forest and wildlife for her portfolio. Sarah wasn't afraid of being alone, having camped by herself many times before. Sarah set up her tent in a small clearing and spent the day taking pictures. She filled up 4 rolls of film on that trip. The day was perfect. The sunlight streamed through the trees, casting beautiful patterns on the forest floor. She captured deer grazing, birds nesting, and even a fox slinking through the underbrush. As the sun set, the forest transformed. Shadows lengthened, and the chirping of crickets filled the air. Sarah set up a small campfire, cooked a light meal, and then entered her tent to sleep. The next morning, she packed up her gear and headed back to town, eager to develop her film. When Sarah developed the photos, something strange emerged. Almost every picture was accounted for, except for 1 picture in each roll. These pictures showed her asleep in her tent in the middle of the night. The realization that someone or something had been watching her while she slept sent chills down her spine. Disturbed, Sarah went to the police and showed them the photographs. They were puzzled and concerned, but there were no immediate answers. Sarah returned home, now feeling paranoid and constantly checking over her shoulder. She had recurring nightmares of shadowy figures circling her tent, whispering in an unknown language, blurring the line between dream and reality. Determined to find answers, Sarah went back to the woods, this time armed with a knife and flashlight. The forest felt darker and more ominous. Retracing her steps, she returned to the clearing and discovered a tree with strange symbols carved into the bark. The symbols glowed with an eerie light. As she touched them, the forest around her grew colder and darker. A shadowy figure appeared at the edge of the clearing. Stepping forward to reveal it looked exactly like Sarah. The doppelganger smiled unnaturally, creating an atmosphere of intense fear. The doppelganger transformed into a grotesque creature with elongated limbs and hollow, glowing eyes. It lunged at Sarah with unnatural speed. Sarah fought back with her knife but was quickly overpowered. Darkness enveloped her as the creature whispered ominous words. She lost consciousness, surrounded by the glowing symbols. Sarah woke up at the edge of the clearing at dawn, disoriented and numb. She stumbled to her feet and fled the forest, constantly looking over her shoulder. The forest seemed normal, but an ominous feeling lingered. Back in town, Sarah was haunted and traumatized. She avoided talking about what had happened. She started noticing strange things around her home. Objects would move on their own, and she'd hear whispering voices when she was alone. She felt watched even in her own house. One night, she woke up to find the symbols from the forest carved into the walls of her bedroom. Panicking, she called the police, but when they arrived, the symbols were gone, leaving Sarah looking paranoid and unstable. Determined to rid herself of the haunting, Sarah researched the symbols and discovered they were ancient marks used to summon and control dark entities. She learned of a ritual that might banish the creature. Gathering the necessary items, she returned to the forest one last time. Under a full moon, Sarah performed the ritual, chanting the incantations and burning herbs. The air grew thick with tension, and the creature appeared again, enraged. As she completed the ritual, a blinding light engulfed the clearing. When the light faded, the creature was gone. Exhausted and hopeful, Sarah returned home. The haunting presence was lifted, but the experience had changed her forever. She continued her photography but never returned to the woods alone again. The final shot shows her looking at the photographs one last time, fear evident in her eyes. As the camera pans out to reveal her sitting alone in a dimly lit room, the shadows flickering ominously on the walls.